And I think the first paid clients were at around 50,000 subscribers. Yeah, it wasn't much in the beginning because people sometimes think that YouTubers earn so much money. I can't complain, definitely not, but I'm also not swimming in the money. But I'm just happy that we have the studio, that we have the people, and that we can just do this full time. I'm really happy about that. All right, last question. Okay, yes. All right, let's go do that first. I see there's a little change in the plan. Let's do that. All right, so what I want to do next, guys, is MSI is doing this online event right here. Basically, what MSI is doing, the Creator Awards, is you can submit a piece of work. And by that, you're entering a competition. And you can win some amazing prizes by doing so. And you can find everything on the website of the MSI Creator Awards. We should be on that right now. And let me just scroll to the submissions. And if everything went well, me and Lorenzo should be perfectly in sync right now. Oh, too far. Okay, let me just scroll back. No, let me scroll back up. No, I'm making it hard for a friend at the moment. All right, anyways, here you can see a bunch of submissions that have already come through. There are 3 categories. We got 2D, which are illustrations. You could also enter for 3D, like Cinema 4D, animations and everything, and video editing, which I'm gonna be the host of, which is why we're doing this session right now. And here are a bunch of submissions. I'm gonna pick out 5 of them and give some feedback. And we're gonna start with Dima.film. Great job what you've done right here. I love the transition in the beginning. You've created this visual effect like right here with the lighting. And I love that the lighting in the city also reflects very well. You've got this endless loop, really well done. I really like what you've done right here. So I hope that you have a good chance to win. I'm going to be in the judge as well, by the way. Anyways, we got more submissions. I'm not sure where they are. Anyways, I'm looking here right now at Jan Jordan. That comes close to Jordy. You've made something about social distancing where you can't sit in the plane, but you have to sit on the engine. Really clever. I love that. I really liked your green keying right here. Can we show it a little bit longer, Jill? All right, because he's controlling the video. Your green keying and your lighting is really good. If I can give a little bit of feedback, and that is to maybe also add the reflection in the airplane. You can do that by duplicating yourself and flipping yourself upside down and then having a mask over it. And that way you kind of have this shade going into the reflection of the airplane. But great job, I love it. The next one, this one I really love, from Nick. I'm not going to pronounce your last name because I have no idea how. But you've made these, like, I love your visual effects in here. So you're basically jumping into a freeze frame of yourself, and I love the distortion in the sky as well. You have these extra elements and everything. Really well done. But not only those visuals, what I also like a lot is the story. So yeah, it's a pretty long one. You guys should definitely check it out on the website. It's really cool. Maybe one little bit of feedback that I can give is to watch out with your color grading. Your saturation is screaming a lot. Personally, I would go for a little less saturated, less contrast, but I'm not sure that might be the compression as well. But all in all, I love what you've done. All right, the next one is from Nico, and I remember in your description of your submission, you talked about your passion of film. And when I see this video right here, I can see that passion in your face, in your emotion, in your smile. It's really beautiful. And I can see that you have a lot of talent there, really nice visual effects. One tip that I can give you is don't let things go too fast, because when you show the weapon there, the visuals, it goes really fast, and I want to look at it because it looks good. So be careful by cutting too fast. Give the audience a little bit of time to see what's going on the screen. All right, the next one here comes from Patricio, and Patricio, what I really loved about your video submission right here is that you actually recreated an effect from something on our website. So it should come right here, right now, from an effect from our tutorials. This was inspired by Panic at the Disco. High Hopes was the title, I think, where they would climb or walk on walls. So you can see him doing that right here. really well executed. You can see your green screen, your mask, that is really well. One little bit of advice, you're kind of walking at the same spot. I would cut away a little bit faster there because actually he's just leaning onto a chair. But we can't tell anyone. All right, do we have some more submissions? Gonna see that we have to, that we're all on the computer. All right. The websites, okay. Okay, yeah, a little change of plans right here. Okay, we're gonna try that. We're gonna take a look at some more submissions then. All right, let's do that. MSI, just type in MSI Creator Awards and we should be there. All right. All right, you know what? Can we get there? Just waiting for Jill here. All right, so MSI is in contact with us at the moment as well. They're asking to show some more reviews, so we'll do that. We'll do that. We're going to take a look at some more submissions. They're happening a lot. They're happening a lot. And what I really love is that everyone is doing something different. That is really amazing to see. I always love it to see what other people are creating. Very often you also get emails from people saying like, hey, I just made this, can you check it out? And it's always amazing, definitely when they say that we are inspired by them. All right, so we are just to scroll down, Jill, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. There we are, video editing. And from there we can check out a few more. All right, so let's just open up a few more. Now you can just pick out some random submissions from there. So I haven't gone through all of them yet because this is one of the newer ones. So here's another submission from, I'm just going to take a little closer look right here from Alejandro. So, yeah, the internet is not so well. All right, you know what, guys? We're going to continue. We're going to do the workshop right now because we've got some slow internet on that PC. But everyone, please go check it out, the MSI Creator Awards on the website. You can see all the submissions there. And I'm going to go through all of them when I'm going to be the judge for selecting the winner for that person who can win the awesome prizes. All right, I have to look a little bit here at my schedule because we're mixing up some things. We're going to go to the workshop right now. Now, one thing that I want to remind you guys too as well is that I've got a very special surprise by the end of the session of the live stream. Only to those who are still on the live stream. So definitely make sure to stay till the end, because it's very exclusive. And also, if you have any questions during the workshop about anything that we're going to do right now, just let us know, and I'm going to answer them. All right, here we go with the workshop. So I'm going to talk about how to create videos like a pro. MSI asked me to talk about that. And what for me is professional looking videos, that to me that means creating depth. It's one of the basics of filmmaking, creating depth. And I also want to start with one of the basic things. So Jill over there has a flying camera, and what I want you to do is just close the aperture for a moment. And as he does that, the screen will go very dark. So he's going to have to lift up his ISO. You'll see a lot of grain, but that is all for a good purpose, because right now you'll see that the background behind me and myself are both in focus. We're both sharp, and that way the image looks kind of flat. You know, whenever we look at a video, it's flat. You know, an iPad is flat. It's not 3D. Although we capture a 3D environment, we're actually looking at a flat object. So what we do is open up the aperture, and if you take a medium shot of me right now, you'll see that now beautifully, if you open up the aperture, that the background gets out of focus and I'm in focus. We are separating the subject, which is me, from the background. That is the very, very basics of creating depth. All right, also another thing is if you zoom, if you go wide angle, you can do that for a moment. If you go wide angle, we also get a less shallow depth of field. The background now becomes more in focus. But by zooming in, you'll see that I become more in focus and the background more out of focus. We're shallowing that depth of field. All right, another trick to create more sense of depth, because that's what we want to do, we want to give that to the audience, is to work with foreground objects. So you can take the plant over there and just film me. So right now we've got a plant, we've got me, and we've got the background. We're basically creating these layers in our video. And that way we're telling the audience like, hey, there's depth, we're working with a 3D environment right here. So try to work with those objects in the front. Now, the next thing is to move your camera. So if you move your camera a little bit to the left and the right, by the way, guys, you can ask questions about anything that I'm doing right here, right now. Just let me know. So if you move the camera a little bit, we kind of get this parallax. We get a more sense of where the objects are in the environment. We get a more sense of how big the space is if you move the object. And you can do that like Jill is doing right now, is simply moving left and the right. You can use your hips, you can use like bend on your knees, whatever, to get some movement into there. So that are some tips with the camera. The next thing I want to talk about is lighting. And you don't need special lights. You can even use the sunlight for these basic techniques. And for that, I'm going to ask Kim, our beautiful model today. Those who have been following us for a very long time might know Kim. She used to appear a lot in the beginning tutorial videos, but when Janik joined, she was not needed anymore. I'm sorry. But you're back needed to be here in the live stream. I want to talk a little bit about lighting. I just took my mouse. I don't need that. I need lights. And we're going to just do something real quick. So I got these two lights. You can take a medium shot of Kim right here. So I'm just going to turn these on. By the way, guys, this can also be the sunlight. And again, if you have questions about anything that I'm doing right here, just go ahead and ask. I'll be happy to answer them. I'm just going to turn off the frontal lighting for a moment. It's getting a little bit dark right now. So Kim needs light. So what I'm going to do is add light. But this is pretty flat. And the reason for that is, when I would ask you to draw a sphere, would you draw a circle or would you draw a circle with a shade on it? Probably with a shade on it. That actually shows a ball. And Kim is also a 3D object. I can't say object. She's a woman, of course. But she's three-dimensional. She's not two-dimensional, right? So that is why we're moving the light to one side. We're creating a shadow over her face. And that way we get a better sense of her being three-dimensional. This is the key light, by the way, guys. And next trick is to shoot against the shadow side. So Kim, you can look at me right now. And I'm holding the light right here on her right side. So the first thing that the camera sees now is Kim's shadow side. And that way, the light here on her other side is pushing Kim forward. We are bringing her more loose from the background. If we would do the opposite, we're again creating more flat lighting because we can't see the shadow on the other side. You always want to see the shadow. Lighting is often about the shadows as well. So guys, I'm using these two lights right here, but you can also use the sunlight, of course. And finally is the backlights. I don't have to use these because we've already got backlights in the studio right here. And what a backlight does is create this rim light. We also talk about hair light in photography a lot. Guys, again, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments what I'm doing right here. And that way, she's also coming more loose from the background. If you're shooting outside, have the sun outside, just put the sun in the back. It can also be a little bit on the side. It doesn't have to be straight behind the subject, but just make sure that it's behind somewhere, either on the left or on the right side, and you'll create this rim light around your subject. All right, let's turn on the lights again here. Frontal lighting, softbox, there we go. Look at that technology right here. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to use your environment to create more depth. And these are some real simple things. I'm going to start with a little bit of color theory. So Kim, you can stand right here in front of the blue backgrounds, and Jill can make a shot of that. Okay, we got a question. Which is your favorite movie that thrilled you with the effects? Which is my favorite? Well, my favorite movie is Mr. Nobody. It's not a pretty popular film, but what I loved in that film was art direction, and that is actually something that I'm going to talk about right now. art direction and cinematography was really cool. They didn't have, there was a lot of effects in there, but it was mostly about the art direction and everything in that film. Of course, the Marvel films, which has so many effects, they're always so well executed, and I love that. Oh, some more questions here. Which lights do you use on the ceiling? On the ceiling right there, we have Fresnel lights. So we've got some shots of that. These are actually very cheap lights because they're not being used that much anymore in the TV productions because these are getting pretty hot. These are 2,000 watt lights. So that's why you can find them pretty cheap on websites like eBay or something. I think that I paid around $50 for one of those. But they get very hot, but they have a very good quality of light. Tungsten lighting is always good. If you go to a Home Depot or something and buy construction lights for $5, which have tungsten lighting in them, you'll always end up with good quality light. The quality of the light itself is always good. That's not the same as with LED. Cheap LED lighting will be greenish, so you want to try to avoid that. Okay, where to buy lights and cameras? Like I said, eBay is a place to find such lights. For new equipment, personally I would go to first a local shop because you can maybe see the lights there, hold them. If you would buy something from the internet, you can't see it before. But there are some, if you're from America, you got B&H, Adorama, which have some great technical support, customer service as well to buy equipment from. Other than that, like I mostly purchase from local web shops that I am also sure of that I can send that back and get support. I think that is important. Only for things like second-hand objects like these Fresnel lights, you have to buy them off from eBay or from a second-hand website which is in your area. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the environment now. Let's get a close-up of Kim or medium shots. Now Kim is standing at the moment behind or in front of a blue background, but she's also wearing something blue, so both blue. Now her skin tones kind of lay on the opposite side of that. So if we look at the color wheel, on the opposite side of blue or teal, green, cyan, we got all of the warm tints. We got yellow, we got orange, red. That's also why I'm wearing red at the moment. Now, so those are opposite colors, contrast colors, and you can separate them from each other, creating more depth. So, for example, Kim, if you would open up your jacket or take off your jacket, underneath that, she is wearing something yellow, which is the opposite color of blue. So here you now get a very simple trick to create more depth in your shots by just wearing something in conjunction to your background. So we are, as humans, drawn to yellow colors, to orange colors, so that's why you would often see that as well in films where the background is more blue. We also have here blue in the background, and your foreground is more warmer. A very simple trick. All right, for the next thing, I'm gonna turn you two guys around. You can stand right here in front of a white wall. And what I'm gonna do real quick here is point this light to the wall, and Kim is like bright or semi-bright. Yeah, she's pretty bright, but the background is bright as well. So we now have two of the same exposures, and that's the same thing as with the color example that I was just giving. So what you want to do is find yourself some darker backgrounds and your subject being lit normally, like be bright and your background be dark. Just as I'm standing right here, I'm bright and my background is dark. If you're outside in the sunlight, try to look for trees, shadows in the background, and have your subject stand in the light. That way you also create a difference in luminance or exposure between your subject and your background. All right, if you have any more questions, guys, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. In the meantime, I want to go to the last trick, and for that, I'm going to take a rec. You can stand right here. That's right, I actually have a real rec right here that I'm going to take as an example. And I see that we have some questions coming in. All right. Kim, you can stand next to the rec. There we go. And Jill, you can make a medium shot of Kim right here. And have the rec kind of like use the lines. We are now using a piece of the set to create more depth, because we're using these lines of the wreck as leading lines. They go towards Kim. And because we see these lines go into a perspective, we get a more sense of the 3D environment right here. And that is why we're making such a shot. So try to find such objects, such things in your environment that you can use. This is something used as well a lot in architect photos or films, where they would use like the street. If you would have someone stand in the middle of the street and just film that person, you will have the lines of the street go to that person. Lines help a lot to get a better sense of the 3D environment, and that is how you can create more depth. All right, thank you so much, guys. Those were the 9 tips that I have for you to create more depth in your shots. Thank you so much, Kim. A little applause for her. Thank you, Jill, as well, for the flying camera. I'm going to put the rack back right now. There you go. Do you guys have any more questions about this? Like how you can create more depth? Let me know in the comments. Okay, I'm just waiting here. Do you have any more questions? Okay, lens that you can suggest. There's one very popular lens that I think a lot of filmmakers use, and that is the Sigma 18 to 35 millimeters 1.8. You have different mounts for that. We have the Nikon mount, but you also have a Canon mount. So you can use it on different cameras. The Sigma 18 to 35 millimeters 1.8. It's a super good lens. You get a very nice range, wide angle, a little bit of tele on a 35, and you have that 1.8 aperture, which puts your background nicely out of focus. What's the best position for the lights? Shadows always appear for me. I'm not using bright enough lights. Great light, by the way, thanks. Seen the comment, MSI, thank you so much. With the best position for the lights. So what you, like I said in my workshop, you always want to make sure that it comes from a side. Always shoot against the shadow side. So if I'm looking to there, and Janik is filming me here in a medium shot, like this side right here should be dark, and this side here should be darker. Maybe it's better to stand like this, right? Now this here, now was I standing good? I should. Thank you. There we go. So like this, there we go. So now I have a shadow side right here, and now I actually, my light is there, is standing on the right side. But if we're going to do the opposite and do this, there we go. I'm just going to stand here. You'll see now that I'm looking more flat. Like this side right here that is pointing to the camera should be in the shadow. That is a very good trick. Basically, what you always want to try and do is get your lights behind your subject. That is what you want to try and do. It doesn't have to be straight behind, but just like in an angle somewhere behind the subject. I think that is a great start, or if you're having trouble with placing lights. What are some good tips for filmmaking with my phone? There's an app called Filmic Pro, which unlocks a lot of manual options on your mobile phone. That is something that I can suggest. It does cost some money, I think $5 or something, but it's definitely worth it, the app, because it unlocks everything that you can do on a professional camera as well. You can set white balance, manual ISO, aperture, all of those controls through that app. You can even film in lock, I think, which is pretty cool. Furthermore, I wouldn't worry too much about like the device itself. If you're shooting with your phone, just try to imply the same rules of filmmaking that you would do with a normal camera. For example, like medium shots, how you frame that, long shots, how you make it travel. Those things are exactly the same with a $100,000 camera as with a $50 toy camera. So it doesn't matter. These are the rules of filmmaking. So I wouldn't bother too much about your phone. Get that app, the Filmic Pro, and that will unlock those possibilities. Because I can't do empty shots and other techniques because of my phone's shutter speed. Okay, so yeah, like you were saying, like some visual effects limitations that you have. So yeah, try to find an app that allows you to create manual settings, like the Filmic Pro. And okay. Okay, that's interesting. So Janik was just saying that a lot of the mobile phones today, I didn't even knew that. Like the modern phones today also have a pro mode in your phone, and with that you can also change your aperture, ISO, and everything. So check if you have that first, and then if you don't, check out Filmic Pro. How to avoid raccoon eyes. Yeah, that's the shadow that you have underneath right here. Raccoon eyes basically comes if you have a real dark studio. So when I'm going to turn off the softbox right here, right now I should be getting those. Do I have those? Yeah, I should be having those a little bit right now. And that's because I have one light, which is pretty strong on me. And I'm breaking that. There is a soft filter in front of that light, so it's softening the lights a little bit more, and that way this here gets removed. But also, if you would reflect the light from underneath, creating multiple light sources, basically, you kind of avoid those raccoon eyes. We have a second softbox right here, which is kind of going to lift up those shadows. So it should be having less of those raccoon eyes at the moment. That's because we have a second softbox on that side, which is adding more fill light. That is basically what you want to have. Raccoon eyes happens a lot when you're working with a single light. Try to, if you're indoor, by the way, and you have a light indoor, what we almost always do is point that light to the ceiling and just cast that light all over the space. But it's always going to be casted from that one hot spot you have in your ceiling. So you're always going to have like one key light from it, but it's going to be super soft because they're bouncing into the ceiling. All right. That's pretty cool. I mean, we have